Hi everybody. My name is Mike from SetLinn, and this evening I have Kizito with me. And this is the first episode of the SetLinn Scholars Stories. And I'm very grateful to Kizito for taking out the time to be with me on this session today. Before we start, for sure, Kizito is going to introduce himself and all that, and we give you a rundown of how the session is going to go this evening. But I would like to start first by asking Kizito, what is the most significant thing that he would say he has experienced or feel so far in his journey as a scholar and a health advocate?
Mike, first of all, I have to thank you for having me featuring your program. It's an honor to be here with you and have the opportunity to share my story with you and with so many people that are connected to your platform. The first week that I spent in Italy, I said to myself that I think everybody in Nigeria should at least leave Nigeria,
Wow.
even if it's for 1 week. Leave Nigeria and see that life is just beyond the confinements, the perimeter of wherever you are, whichever state, whichever city you are in, because you see and you learn just by seeing. There are much
Yeah.
more. There
Yeah.
are different people. There are
Hmm.
different culture. There are different food. The travel itself, it was like a life resetting experience for me.
Yeah.
The fact that I met people that reason in a totally new, different way.
Hmm.
And I found myself in a society where I don't have to pray for safety. I don't have to pray, like that I don't have to crash in a bus. I don't even have to worry about if this person is actually driving safely or not, if I'm going to get kidnapped. So this was really like the greatest experience, life for a certain experience for me. I think this is what I think has
Yeah.
been like for me.
You can't imagine how much I can relate to what you're saying, especially when you started by saying you feel like every Nigerian should leave the country, even if it for at least 1 week to experience life in another world. 100%. Because what you find out is that the world is actually much bigger than you think it is. There are way more people than you think it is. It's more diverse than you think it is. And then you just realize that you're actually from a really small corner of the world. And but at the same time, you also experience how small the world is too, because you also see a lot of similarities. Tell us a bit about yourself.
My name is Kizito, actually Onyekachi Kizito Ugu. I am from Enugu, and I spent the whole of my childhood in Enugu. I went to primary school, secondary school, and even my first bachelor was in Enugu. So, yeah, I decided to change that after my bachelor's degree in pharmacy. I decided to move to another part of Nigeria for my internship. I've been this kind of a curious person. I always want to go to a new place, try new things. So
Mm-hmm.
I tell you, it was the first time I went to Ilorin for my internship that I actually saw a girl in hijab. I tell you, I never saw a girl in hijab in Enugu. So I met
Yeah.
a girl in hijab, Zena, that's her name. And I tried to have a handshake with her. That was the
No
first
way.
cultural shock of my life. The first
Right in
cultural
your
shock.
own country, in the same country
I
where
am telling
you're
you, I am telling you. Yes. So I studied pharmacy and I have been in the pharmaceutical practice. I started off with a hospital pharmacy because I had to do an internship in Uni Teaching
okay.
Hospital. Yeah,
Yeah.
and I spent 1 year in Ilorin,
Okay.
and from the hospital practice, I had to delve into the community practice, and I did that in Lagos. I spent like 4 years in Lagos, into diverse levels of community practice, working with several NGOs, doing some voluntary works.
Mm.
Uh, I mean, this was where I found the passion. I rediscovered the passion for, health promotion,
Yeah.
community service. Also with the COVID, there were levels, different levels of dimensions of, things that I could do to push out promotions, health promotions,
Yeah.
counseling, talks. And then I said to myself after the COVID, you see, I think I needed to So I needed to develop myself more. I think I needed, I'm done. I think I needed to see the world in a new dimension. So I started looking for schools. Yeah, I started from the US to the UK and then to the rest of the Europe. And then I found myself in Italy.
So when you thought, okay, hey, you needed something different, you needed to move on, you needed to see the world.
Yeah.
How did you start exactly? I would like to understand, the next step from when you had that thought to when you actually got into actions, and what did you do?
I was working in a company. It's a national company.
Okay.
Chains. It's a brand recognized company in Nigeria. And I got to the level of a manager, a branch manager. And I was like, oh, I think that I've gotten to the epoch of this particular career path.
Yeah.
And I wanted more. So I said to myself to be able to ascend to, have the ability and the networks to be able to work with some great international multinational organizations. I need to increase my accreditation. I needed to get higher
Yes.
certificates,
Yeah.
possibly from a better institution.
Yeah.
And so with the pandemic and how I saw how science was able to like intervene with the vaccine and all of that. So that's actually like got my curiosities up, and that was when I started to search which
Okay.
kind of career paths can I take from where I am that will push me to the level that I was anticipating.
And then you started searching online.
Yeah, I basically am the kind of person that likes to do a lot of things on my own. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I started searching for where I could go because at that point I was trying to connect to work with the UN. So
Okay.
I was trying to do like a UN voluntary work.
Yeah.
Uh, but I was seeing the prerequisites. They needed master's program in epidemiology, and I didn't have that.
Okay.
So I was trying to look at possibly schools where I could go and do epidemiology in the US.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I got a school, did the whole application and did all of the rigorous applications, and then I got the admission, but it didn't come with funding. I said, okay,
Okay.
I'm not going to US anymore because I need to go where I'm going to go get the funding. Then also I did the same in the UK, and I didn't get it. I got the admissions because but it didn't come with funding. Then I said, you know what? Let me actually look at other parts of Europe.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, I could actually try other parts of Europe. So I started to search for schools in Europe, eastern part of Europe, western part of Europe.
Mm-hmm.
Voila! I saw that, oh, I could actually go to Italy.
Mm-hmm.
And the tuitions were like not even up to 8,000. I'm
Yeah.
like, so in the UK, I get to pay like 20,000 pounds, but in Europe, I get to pay like 8,000. You know what?
Actually less.
Yeah. I mean, at that point, it was like 1,000 I was seeing, okay?
Okay.
But but when I began to, process the application, get into it, I realized that it could even be less. So I
Uh,
think that was it for me. That was
yeah.
it.
And
Yeah.
I have two follow-up questions. So the first one is this. Do you think there are also many other people back home in Nigeria with similar profile, like you had back then, and they also had the same desire, or they have the same desire to just go further, but somehow they have not done it, or it did not happen for them? That's like the first question. And then the second follow-up question is, uh, yeah, if you would agree also that it's very common for when people think about going to study abroad, they first think about the UK and the US, maybe Canada, and very less often about other parts of Europe.
Yeah. Firstly, for sure, I have a couple of friends, right? Friends that actually reach out to me and like, Kizito, how do you do this? How can I do this? So
Mhm.
I have quite a handful of friends that had verbally contacted me and said, oh, this that you did, how did you do it and how can I do it? So I have. There are quite a lot of people. Probably there are also people that haven't reached out to me that are trying to do it on their own like I did.
Yeah.
Uh, for sure, I know that many people, my
Hmm.
professional colleagues, want to also uh, emigrate. One of
Yeah,
the things is probably maybe not even to do what I mean, in the terms of trying to get a higher education, but also just to move to an enabling environment to practice,
yeah,
right? Yeah,
yeah,
so there are quite a handful of them that have reached out to me on how I was able to, navigate and get myself here in Italy,
yeah.
and also the possibilities that are here.
Hmm.
So definitely, I have a handful of people, and some of
What
them are
is
also
stopping
related
them
to.
from? What is stopping them from making the move? What is stopping them from going for it?
Well, actually, okay. For instance, maybe someone already have like a family tie, a strong family tie in Nigeria.
That's
It,
true.
yeah, it could be a problem. And also, one thing is wanting to do something. Another thing is also going for it. There is
Definitely.
always that value of debt that you
Yeah,
know
yeah,
that it takes a strong will to cross. You know,
definitely,
yeah, and
definitely.
also not everybody is willing to accept the no's that comes with this kind of
Yeah, yeah,
progress and want to
yeah,
like try again. So there are a lot of reasons that
yeah.
I cannot even exhaust myself. Yeah.
Yeah, true. And then people would always first start from, well, why is that people? They have less and less people looking towards the, other locations outside of the UK, Canada, the US, and so on, and even Australia. It's crazy for me that someone like someone in Nigeria is then thinking down all the way to Australia. By default, I would expect that geographically speaking, people should think more Europe. So there's for sure UK, which they think a lot about, but then Europe should come. But then people think as far as the US, Canada, and Australia, but not places like Germany or Italy, for example.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, I agree. Like most time people want to go where a lot of people are going.
Yeah,
And and one of the things about these things is that there was some people, the pioneers, that actually made this place accessible.
yeah,
Also, in the beginning, it was like Italy used to be like a place that is not known for going as a destination area for studies. It used to be people that tried to enter Europe through the sea because of
yeah,
geographical location.
yeah,
But now, with the increasing awareness of the numerous untapped possibilities or resources available for international students in Italy and neighboring countries,
yeah,
people are beginning to take that giant leap and trying
definitely.
to come in and access these resources that the government had made available for internationals.
Yeah, totally. I mean, and this is also what we are all about at SetLinn, because one thing that we've come to understand is primarily that access to the information. You find information bits and bits here and there, and then you just really find yourself moving around, and sometimes it can be quite frustrating. Um, of course, you can join Facebook groups. You can join whatever channel on Telegram or on Twitter or sometimes on LinkedIn as well. But at the end of the day, these platforms also are made for other things, and then it's definitely not focused because you're actually looking for something very specific. But then you are in like a pool of a million other things.
Mhm.
And then not to mention that you can't get everything that you're looking for from one location. So you have to get it from here, from there, from there. And then the same also extend to the people who have this information, people like yourself and myself today. And also how can we also pass this information across to other people? And this is really what settling is all about. Our goal is primarily at the top to see that international education and opportunities, including scholarship, vocational trainings, internship, be it whatever you are looking for with regards to opportunities abroad, that there is a central location where people can both access this information and also connect with other people. And I'm very happy, to hear everything that you're saying because again, it actually buttresses the fact that um, there is need for something like this for people to have access to it in both ways. So people back home and also people, you know, on the other side of the world that have this information.
Yeah, yeah,
Uh,
yeah, yeah. I agree with you in this because I so much love what you and your team is doing in settling. because being able to access information and also being able to connect with people that provide this information to see if this information is still up to date, it's
Yeah.
really very important. Because also I know that when I was doing this, like 3 years ago, when I was trying to see how I could, assess my options, I
Mm-hmm.
was seeing outdated information, outdated in the sense that, okay, for instance, I went to help Nairaland, for instance, and I saw some message, some information that were deposited as at 2015.
Oh,
Now, I didn't know, for instance, if this information is updated. I didn't have that access. But
yeah,
with SetLinn, it gives you like a particular interface that enables you to get really like up-to-date information, and you can actually even have access to people that actually dish it out. So I think that this is really cool.
yeah, yeah. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. Now let's get very more specific to your journey to Italy. So, what's the name of the uni that you're studying, and what are you studying as well?
Okay. I'm studying in University of Bologna. University of Bologna, many people may not know, but it's the number one, the first university in the modern world.
Oh,
In the
wow.
modern world, in the sense that, I mean, we don't talk about the medieval period, but when we started to like recognize the concept of university, Bologna is like it's the number one. So
Okay.
it's the oldest. Yeah,
Wow.
and when it comes to global ranking, it's highly reputed and highly ranked. It's also in the top ranked universities in Europe.
Yeah, yeah.
So I mean, this was one of the reasons, one of the things that drew me to University of Bologna, because I was also looking for a highly ranked university to attend. Uh,
Okay.
and I was also looking at universities that had a great international presence, because
Okay.
uh, I also wanted to enjoy the multitude of international students in the scholarship environments where I find myself.
Yeah.
So I am a master student in University of Bologna, and I am studying pharmaceutical biotechnology.
Pharmaceutical
Uh,
technology.
Basically, we talk about drug production, but no longer synthetic one that I did in the pharmacy school in University of Nigeria, Suka. But now we're talking about biologicals,
Okay.
vaccines, proteins. So another aspect of pharmacy, but the other flip side. So basically, this is what I'm doing in University of Bologna. Currently, I am almost done with my program. I am already doing an internship with a biotech company, so that
Okay.
I can produce my thesis, and then I graduate. So.
Okay. Great. Tell us a bit more about the scope of the study program, and also what are the career perspective or career opportunities when you graduate.
Okay. So the program is actually instructed in English.
Really?
Uh, yeah, it's actually called an international master's program. So we
Okay.
have students from across Europe and across the world. We have representations from India, Pakistan, some part of Africa like Sudan,
Great.
Italy, of course, we have large chunk from Italy and also Iran. So we have quite a lot of students because the language of instruction is English. So that
Mhm.
is a representation from across the globe. And also in Unibo, you find quite a lot of courses that are offered in English, because now Italy is opening up their educational system for
Yeah.
integration. Yeah,
Yeah.
so it makes it really suitable to have an international community also in the city of Bologna. So,
Okay.
but as regards to basically my program, like I said, we are basically at the research and development of biologics.
Okay.
Biologics basically is the onus when it comes to like treatment for diseases like infectious disease. We talk about vaccines. Like you see what happened during the COVID, it was basically biotechnological intervention. Also in the field of cancer, biologics are usually like one of the most prominent new discoveries in terms of treatment because of the advantages. So basically, the career prospect for us or for someone with my accreditation, it's basically working with pharmaceutical or biopharmaceutical companies in the aspects of research and development of drugs and translation into medicines. Uh,
Okay.
I can also as well work with this kind of companies for marketing and education in the terms of informing clinicians what we are doing at research level and also what we have in our portfolio as drugs.
Yeah.
Also intervene and work with NGOs in the aspects of you know volunteer services, also in the field in the situations where there are like epidemics and issues like that. So there are diverse aspects to which we can work, or we can even go back and recline in the laboratory for continuous research and development.
Yeah, yeah. You know what? One thing I've come to realize also in Europe is the fact that when you study here, you even understand like more career path at the end of your study. It's like you see even things that you could not imagine before, that you see those career possibilities here. I give you one example using my profile. Um, in the last 6 years, I've worked within the German medical diagnostics sector in the
Mhm.
position of sales management and business development, precisely at the
Mhm.
international level. And most times when I go out and I tell people that I'm a sales manager or I'm a business development manager, they always wonder how you have a bachelor's in biochemistry, a master's degree in infection biology. Why are you doing sales? But the reason I'm doing sales is because I am qualified to actually be the one to talk to people about the product. Because again, what we produce medical devices, so to speak. That's how
Okay.
they're classified. And now it needs someone with that educational background and also practical experience to sell this product, basically. So, in the German sense, I am considered a medical consultant, so to speak. And I
Yeah.
undergo special training for that so that I need that quote unquote certification to be able to be qualified as a salesperson or at least to interact with customers or patients and all this kind of stuff. But for at least from what I've seen, most people would expect that you only can work as a sales manager or as a business development manager if you study business management or sales or marketing. But it's actually it's here it's completely different, and but even that being aside, I could also see here that from one course that you study, that you can identify multiple areas where you can find usefulness for your study program. And I think this is something very eye-opening that I would like people to also know about. And you can study one thing, but you can also think deeper than what most people know as where you can practice. That the limitation is you don't have a lot of restrictions here like most people would have back home. So I don't know if you see that too, if you've experienced that. I know you're still studying and probably before in the next few months, then you actually get into the industry. But for sure, what I've seen so far is that I'll call it diversity in where you can specialize or practice.
Here it's basically about that at the end you become like really independent and you are actually a master in what you're doing. Even if you look at the curriculum and the syllabus that they use to instruct in the university, it's really very dynamic here. It's not very static like it is back home. For instance, we
Yeah,
basically don't use a textbook, we use articles. And of course, articles are something that is being published every day. So we look at research,
current.
yeah,
Yeah,
recent research, recent tools. So these are things that are done in a way that at the very end, you are capable and you are able to be fully independent when it comes to your job or when it comes to tasks that you're handed over to.
100%. I really like that point that you mentioned about the educational style in the sense that they work on things which are current, which are just happening right now, and not studying things of 100 years ago, which
Yeah.
probably which do not have any effect in our our modern day. I also had similar experience. I recall back then when I was doing my second internship, also close to my master's thesis. That was during the outbreak of Zika virus, and that was what was trending. So I had
Hmm.
the opportunity to also jump on that research, and then I was working on the I was working on the identification of protein structures that can form a like good candidate for drugs or vaccine development. So we were working at really the base level. So what we do is we purify the protein and then we try to crystallize, core parts of the or important proteins, I would call them.
Yeah.
The crystal structure, then we push it then to the other guys, probably guys like you or some other people who then take it up to do further analysis. But it was really exciting that there's an outbreak, it's happening, and you have the opportunity to be a part of it, and not like you just studied something and you're doing something. There are a lot of things happening right at the moment, but then you're studying something completely unrelated or not important, to the
Yeah.
current situation. Let's talk a bit about the uni. Please walk us through the admission process, the duration of the study program, and also about the tuition, just so that someone who's watching this right now or later can have an idea how to, everything they need to know about the study program and the uni.
Oh, okay. Here in Italy, if you're doing like your bachelor's program, it's basically 3 years if it's not a specialized program. A specialized program is like medicine and surgery, which of course in this case would just be a span of 5 years. But if it's not specialized, it's usually like 3 years. And
Mm.
then in Italy, they have like an educational culture where they just try to have you enroll immediately into the master's program. In fact, before now, it was integrated. So you basically pass through the university for 5 years and you have your bachelor's and your master's. But now
Okay.
it's separate. So if you finish your bachelor's, you can as well proceed into the master's program, which is actually 2 years. So
Okay.
basically, all in all, it's usually 5 years.
From back
And
to
it comes,
master.
yeah, up to the master's level.
Yeah.
So when it comes to the tuition in Italy, basically, so I came to realize this when I moved over here. In
Okay.
Italy, if you're in a public school, for instance, you basically don't say that this is your school fees. No. So basically, your school fees is calculated based on your economic status.
Okay.
And during your economic status, if you're an average person in terms of societal status, how much you earn, you
Yeah.
basically don't pay anything. And if maybe you're probably rich, depending on what you earn, maybe you
Yeah.
start paying, they start calculating upwards. So maybe at the end, you may be paying 100, 200, or 300 or 400 euros per year.
Wow.
So, but as it concerns we that are Africans, okay, if
International.
they should do these calculations for you, probably you wouldn't pay anything because
Anything.
yeah, because they give a range. They say, okay, if your family is earning for in Unibo, currently it's at 24,000. So if your family is earning 24,000 a year, then
€24,000 per year.
4,000 euros per year. So from there, they start calculating upwards. So maybe if they add 24,100, so maybe you will pay like €1.
How, how many families in Nigeria do you think are earning €24,000 per year?
Absolutely. If you unless you are considering Dangote and Otadola, but but I mean an average Nigerian
Yeah,
never ends up to that amount per year.
yeah,
However,
mm,
there are some people because of documentation problems and
yeah.
meeting the deadlines, they may not be able to provide documents that declares their education, I mean the economic status. For Nigerians, there is actually a discount. In Univo,
Or
if you
discount.
don't, yeah,
I
yeah,
must
if you in
discount.
Univo, if you don't if you don't provide your economic, if you don't declare your economic status, right, as an international, the school fees is 4,000 euros. Okay,
Wow.
4,000 euros. Yeah, but if you're Nigerian, because of the categorization which we belong to,
Hmm.
uh, we have we have a flat rate of 1,400.
Okay.
8,400. That
Yeah.
is if you provide no documentation about your economic status. Then there are other countries that are categorized as poor countries, they don't pay any tuition regardless of whether they provided economic documents or not.
So that means Nigeria is not really considered a poor country. Of course not. Come on, Nigeria is like one of the
Yeah, yeah,
richest
there
countries.
are no ones. There are countries like probably Sierra Leone, okay, Burundi. So Nigeria is classified as non-OECD. So it's like the economic categorization. So and even now, some universities are trying to delist Nigeria from, that categorization, because I think now Nigeria is becoming richer. Apparently.
Well,
Yeah,
where's the money? Ask Nigerians, where's the money?
yeah, but still in the region where Unibo is found, Emilia Romagna,
Mm.
uh, Nigeria is still considered to be non-OECD. So we
So
are
that
that.
means this classification is done, by the university, so to speak, university or the states. So it's not like
Yeah,
it's generally in the whole of Italy, but
no,
region.
it's by the region. Yeah, by the region. Yeah.
Interesting.
So
Yeah.
recently, some regions has delisted Nigeria, but still in Univo, the regions is still. But regardless of whether you are in this region or not,
Hmm.
they would calculate they calculate your economic stand and
Mm.
your job based on your economic stand. It is just a situation where you don't provide these documents that they would say, okay, we are from here, I'm from Nigeria, okay, where do you belong? You have a flat rate that you have to pay. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Could you touch a bit on that declaration of economic status? How does it work and how should someone go about it?
If you want to declare your economic status, there are two ways to go about it.
Hmm.
You can go to your local government,
Okay.
and your local government will prepare the document stating how much your parents or anybody in your family that is working, how
Okay.
much they earn per year.
I see.
And and when they prepare this, they prepare it in a form of letter-headed document. Then you take it to Abuja, to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs to legalize it. So they are
Oh,
going to like make it authentic by
yeah.
putting some stamps and putting the federal receipt. Then then you send it to the Nigerian embassy, and the Nigerian embassy will translate it into Italian.
So you mean
And
embassy in Nigeria?
no, we do it in Nigerian embassy here in Italy.
Ah, okay. You do it there in Italy.
Yeah.
But so is this not done before your student visa application process?
So it's possible
Okay.
that usually for some countries, right, they can do with the Italian embassy in their country.
Okay.
So, but for Nigeria, the embassy in Nigeria doesn't produce this document for us.
I see. Okay. Okay.
Yeah. So now, because there are two options, either you use the Italian embassy in your country, or you
Yeah.
use your embassy in Italy.
Yeah. 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 Okay.
Yeah. So basically, but of course, even if you can still get the whole process done when you arrive here.
Okay.
So you
Okay.
complete what's remaining when you arrive here.
Yeah. So does this mean that you don't have to pay your tuition until you arrive? I would have thought that one needs to. We will talk a bit about the student visa shortly, but maybe you can already talk about the student visa process now and how the
Yeah,
whole
yeah.
thing
Oh,
works.
basically, you don't pay. I
Okay.
do not advise you to also pay until you get your visa. But basically, right, one of the things that is so good about Italy is that they usually like for most public schools, you pay in installments, and there is the first installment, which is like the regional tax. You just pay like 150 euros, which is
Okay.
like first installment.
Yeah.
So some people pay this because probably it's going to make them have a favorable look or make them have a strong favorable application when they meant to make their visa application. But
Yeah.
even if you don't pay, it doesn't mean that the embassy is going to deny you because you didn't pay. So it's not compulsory to pay.
Okay.
So it's just that probably you may just decide not to pay it until you get your visa. But
Mm,
usually the first installment is a little, and that's like 150
okay.
euros.
Okay. Now, this is interesting to know. We will talk, shortly about the student visa process, and I think then with that we're going to round up. Tell me just tell us a bit about the range of tuition. Like for someone who does not have a scholarship, what would be the range of tuition that they pay typically in Italy from the lowest to the highest? Just the range.
So I give you an instance because for sure this varies across schools.
Yeah.
Okay, but when I was moving to Italy, I had two admissions in my hands. I had the University of Bologna and I had University of Milan.
Mm-hmm.
So in University of Milan, the tuition was 400,
Wow.
400 euros.
Per
Yeah,
semester or year?
yeah, for a year without any documentation. In Bologna, like I said, it's 4,400 for the first year. Then it's lower for the second year, I think 1,200. But so this was, and you had the possibility to pay in three installments. So
Okay.
for someone without um, any form of scholarship, then this is most likely going to be what the tuition is going to be. Uh, Other schools probably okay. There is another school in the south, Salerno, that the tuition where it's around 800. But you see, it shows you that comparably to what you is obtainable out of the EU, it's
Mm-hmm.
really very, very small compared to, at least for
Yeah.
instance, if you're trying to pay in the UK or Ireland or in the US. So basically in that range. But it's unfounded, I must say, okay, that someone comes here from Africa and the person doesn't have an economic status declaration. It's crazy.
It's like, I mean, if you don't have it, then you would probably not go study in Italy. You would go elsewhere. So, Kizito, to round up, maybe you could just give us an overview of the student visa process, the requirements, and yeah, how was it for you? I believe your own case was probably a good example to tell someone how to go about the process. Let's say when they've gotten the admission and all that.
Basically, if you come to Italy, specifically speaking, the official language here is Italian.
Yeah.
Okay. So basically, and they have an education system that it's very different from that of the one that we have in Nigeria, which is a British system.
Yeah.
So if we're trying to study in Italy, they would need you to actually prove the authenticity of your documents.
Okay.
And they would also need you to translate your documents. Okay. So basically, you will have to do a process of making your documents authentic and
Mm-hmm.
translating it. Basically, you have to go to the embassy and
Okay.
the Ministry of Education and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Abuja. So you have to send your academic documents, your certificates, and your transcripts to them to authenticate it for you. And
Okay.
then you would have to have an appointment with the Italian embassy to make the documents legal. So before you make the documents legal, you would use an accredited translator to translate the document from English to Italian. Okay.
Okay.
So when you make it, when you translate it, then the embassy, you send them to the embassy. The embassy would make it legal and give you a certificate that says that, oh, this is the equivalent value of what we have to the Italian education system.
I see
All
that
right.
confirmed
But
the
yeah,
mm,
yeah, they just like, I mean, this is also done in the US. If you are going to the US, you have to do this kind of thing. But
yeah,
uh, the good thing here is that this one is cheaper and this one is easier. And
yeah, yeah.
also, the very good thing is that you don't need to do this before you gain admission. Okay.
Okay,
You can use your English transcribed documents to make your application process. So it is when you're granted an admission that you start the process of trying to translate, trying to legalize your documents. So during the period that you're making your applications, your certificates in English, your transcripts in English, it's acceptable. But before you go to Italy, before you do your matriculation, you have to have these documents that are translated and legalized by the embassy. Otherwise, it wouldn't fly.
And then, what other documents are required for the student visa application process? So after you've done this legalization, verification, and yeah, checking the equivalence, what else does someone need?
Basically, you need the financial document, all right?
Okay.
The financial document, it's a document that proves or shows that you have enough financial resources to for your stay here in Italy as a student.
Okay.
Basically, if you are doing a master's program, you need to provide a financial document that shows that you can be sustained for the period of 2 years.
2 years.
Uh, yeah,
Okay.
because the master's program is for 2 years.
Mhm.
And basically, the embassy provides you with an estimated amount that your financial documents should show that you have.
Okay. Yeah.
And if you're on a scholarship, of course, you know that you don't necessarily have to provide these documents. You just need to provide a letter that shows that you're on a scholarship. Probably you will just show that you have enough money to buy the plane ticket
Okay.
and yeah, to bring you to Italy. So you need to show that you have documentation, financial documentation to show that you have money for your feeding, for your
Okay.
tuition, for your
Yeah.
house,
Yeah.
um, and for your well-being, for your insurance, medical insurance, for the period that you're going to be here. And probably, maybe it's important for you to also show that you have a strong tie with the country that you're coming from.
Yeah.
But I, in my experience, this is not like a very, very an obligatory information that you have to provide. But your academic documents and your financial documents are really, really like very important.
Okay. Great. Great. Kizito, I imagine people watching this and also checking SetLinn, they probably are going to have some questions, coming up later. Um, do you have an account on SetLinn that people can connect with you and just send messages and you can like reply to them at your own time and send them relevant links to whatever?
Yes, for sure. You search me up on SetLinn, Onyekachi Kizito Ugun. You'll find me on SetLinn. So
Great.
it's
Yeah.
very easy.
Yeah. And I believe maybe from time to time, as you have time and you get some additional information and insight on what's happening in Italy, new opportunities, please feel free to post them on Settling so that people can actually get this information in the sense that they're getting it from someone who is actually experiencing, life in Italy as an international student. I think that would be really great.
Sure. I also want to, thank you again for the opportunity to have me here and to share some of these insights because, I mean, your platform has the reach. So I am glad that maybe by just doing this once, I could be able to like reach out to quite a handful of people and provide them with this information.
Yeah.
I know that on my own, I had to dig and dig and dig and
Yeah.
combine and sort so many information. But I mean, with this particular section that we had, I
Yeah.
believe that a number of people already have the guide that they need and they already have an idea or they're already imagining themselves in Italy.
Yeah.
So I am really like very happy for this opportunity and this platform. And I
Yeah.
also want to like encourage our listeners to make sure that they keep tabs with what's happening in settling because sampling is not even just limited to Italy. You find a lot of information about what's
Yeah.
happening across Europe and beyond. So thank you so much, Mike, for having me once again on this platform.
Yeah, no, thank you too also for coming here, and I appreciate everything you said about settling. And really, this is our goal to, yeah, that people do not have to go through the pain that we went through before. So the goal is that life just gets better for everybody, as we progress. Great. Thank you so very much, Kizito. I appreciate your time once more, and I wish you a nice evening.
And you too. Ciao. Ciao to everybody.